Let's talk about college. Let's talk about how I was able to get my master's degree, even with ADHD. As a matter of fact, we want to talk about how I used my ADHD to get that master's degree, as well as a bachelor's degree. This is the OCPD Coach YouTube channel, and I'm here to help you build a healthier relationship with progress. College. This is something that we've all talked about probably as kids. You might have known what college you were going to before you knew what you were going to do for the rest of your life as a career. And I think that's become normalized. I do. I think we come from families that have different colleges that are alma maters, and everybody has different fraternities or sororities they might be part of. Whatever it might be, we have all had some form of relationship with college. As a matter of fact, from the time you are able to go to school as a baby or a small child, you are being prepared every single year of your life for college. You're literally being prepared for college. So I think talking about college right now, I'm going to try to give you some of the tools that I used. And also, just be real with you all, because I think a lot of times with college, we don't talk about the reality of what college is, what it's useful for, its usefulness, because it's not 100% a scam. And I want to have that conversation with you all today. But first, let me give you some value. With college, I'm going to give you the three things, just three things, because I like things in threes, that I used to help me get my college degree. And also, I'm hoping that these three steps can help you get your college degree as well. The first thing that I actually have written down is this. Whatever your major is in, it to me has to be of some interest to you. It does not have to be something that you are passionate about when you leave school and you're just all in it, but you have to have at least a little bit of interest in it, or it has to be challenging enough to pique your interest. So that's my number one thing. My number two thing is this. Aim for a 2-year college window. 2. Why 2? Well, I got my first real job when I was 19 years old. That was after my second year of college. My first 2 years of college, I had not decided on a major. I switched majors 5 times. So that 2-year window, I'll go a little bit deeper into why I believe 2 years is what you should shoot for. But just keep in mind that you can go to college for 2 years, get a career, and then go back to school later on. Now let's go into our third point. Third point is this. You need to take advantage of accelerated programs and community college. Accelerated programs and community college. Now, I'm going to give you a brief story and then we'll go much deeper into all three of these points. I started college. I said it like it was a job. Obviously, I started college. When I was 17 years old, I started college and I was going to be 18 in August on a full-ride scholarship. It was a 4-year academic scholarship. I was qualified because of my high ACT score as well as my grade point average, because I always made sure I took care of those. And I went to a 4-year university that was a beautiful campus. I played on the football team and I had a lot of friends there that I really had decent relationships with. But I, for the first 2 years, had no idea what I wanted to major in. And pause, I actually had no idea what I wanted to major in my first year. That summer after my first year, I came to video game development. I started teaching myself at home. Went back to the college, they didn't offer it. So I knew what I wanted to do, but the school didn't offer it. So I was jumping all around. I was sitting in the lecture hall, miserable. This was my second year when I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and they didn't offer it. And I was miserable. I could not focus. I started working a job. I was working at Nike selling shoes. All I could think about was leaving school to go make some money, making money to come learn and make more progress on my game. It was torture because I was stuck in an environment and I knew I could be doing better things with my time. Plus, I didn't see the usefulness of what I was learning. I'm a software engineer. I've been a software engineer for basically 10 years now, in different ways. So I've been an official software engineer for the past 4 years, but I've been doing software engineering for the past 9 years. And I still, to this day, have not used a lot of the stuff I learned when I was in college. back at Oakland. So I have no idea why, but I think that I just learned a lot of pointless stuff. I knew in my head it was pointless and I didn't see any application for it. And I was really failing school for the first time. Now, mind you, I'm a great student. I was valedictorian in 8th grade. I always kept above a 3.5 in high school. And even when I went back to college, I was valedictorian again. I was almost broke the record when I got my master's degree for getting my master's degree in the fastest amount of time. So I'm a great student. I love to learn. But the content I was learning and the manner in which I was learning was not conducive to my brain, my learning style. I'm a kinesthetic learner. I have to get my hands on something so that I can know that I understand it. I have to put it in real life application so that I can test the results because I'm a trial and error type of person. So that's how I learn. I couldn't do that in college. It was lecture, sit there in the lecture hall for an hour to an hour and a half while the person talks to you. Most of the time we had older professors who were not even really interested in the topic. They would just drone on like this. And I would often fall asleep. So I would actually fall asleep in college. And it got to the point where I failed my science course. It was a chemistry course, I think. And I failed it because it was nothing but 3 tests. And I failed all 3 tests because I could not focus in lecture hall and I had no way of applying the knowledge. And I'll tell you this, I also didn't do the homework. I think there was optional homework or labs and I didn't go to them because I thought it was a waste of my time. And at that point I was over college, or in my head I was over college. So I was as much to blame for it as anything, but I failed. And I remember failing in math at the same time. I failed math and science. And it was, for me, it was a confidence blow because I thought, man, I've never failed in school. I got a D. Worst thing I ever had was a D in Spanish when I was in 6th grade. And that was a fluke error. I was always good at school. I always was able to procrastinate the last second, get all my work done and focus. And as long as it was homework, I get it done. I was a good test taker because I have like photographic memory. So I could see something and know exactly where I saw it at in the book or wherever it was. And I never even studied. I didn't even have to really read books. I would do it in class, but I never went home and studied for tests. I would just remember it. It was really dope. So when I got to college, man, it was brutal. It was like, no, you are not cut out for this. This is not for you. And you don't have the type of brain that is required for college. So I had confidence issues about what my life was going to look like failing high school. And my scholarship was now in jeopardy. So it was a lot for me. And I remember just going through all of those different thoughts, and this is before I knew I had ADHD or OCPD. I just found that out a couple years back. But before I knew any of it, I just really struggled. So I remember I came back to school for my break, and I had a bunch of easy classes so I could pad because I took more credits than needed, but I needed to pad my GPA up and make sure I got my GPA was over a certain limit so I wouldn't lose the scholarship. And I just took the most pointless classes. I took movies. It was a cinema class. I had a photography class at some point, but it was just to get my grade point average up. And when I say I wasted my time so much, but I finally got an opportunity a couple months later at Rocket Mortgage to be an intern. I was an instructional design intern. I had no idea what it was. All I knew is that I was doing graphic design at home, video design at home. I was teaching myself all of this stuff. And the opportunity I got at 19, they offered me a full-time position a couple months later with benefits. And those benefits included tuition reimbursement. So I knew that I could leave I left Oakland. I left Oakland at the time, my college. I went to Quicken, got the internship, completed all the way through, got the job, and then eventually went back to college. So that is when I went and got a couple years later. It wasn't immediately, but they hired me because of the stuff I did at home. So I was like, perfect. I can learn the stuff that I want to learn while getting paid for it. And they brought me in and they asked me if I wanted to go back to school. And I said, yeah, I actually do want to go back to school. I think that'd be a great opportunity. I went back to school to Full Sail University, completely online. And they had a 3-year program. Because I remember I had a buddy from California. He said, man, if you're going back to school, why not go and do something that you actually want to get a degree in? So that is where I got this. I guess I got 2. They gave me 2 copies of it. But that's where I got this. So it took me 3 years. I had classes every single month. non-stop for 3 years. No summer break, no winter break, but it was one class at a time. And it was game art. That's what I did, was game art. So I learned how to do 3D modeling officially with Maya, ZBrush, Substance Painter, Photoshop, all of the stuff that I needed to do game development. And I was learning how to do programming, pseudo programming on the job while I was working. So I was getting the best of both worlds. I was learning how to do software engineering, and at the same time I was getting a college degree in art. So I was confident in that. So yeah, I'm at 2019, I get my degree a couple months after I leave the job. So I left the job in May and got my degree in August. And that's when I decided to move to Florida and give Florida a shot, because I didn't see a big future with gaming in Michigan. And I've done a lot of cool stuff, but that's not for this video. But I decided to go ahead and move to Florida and got an amazing career where I'm at right now. If you check my LinkedIn, you know what company I've been at. I've been at that company for a while. And eventually, I was eligible for promotion. This is more recently. So I had to wait a whole year because, the politics of business, when you're eligible or up for a promotion from your manager's eyes or your leader's eyes, it still has to go up the chain and has a bunch of different approval processes, and you have to wait for a season to come around for it. So I was waiting around, and it got all the way up to the last step where I was going to go ahead and get my promotion, and they tell you how much you're making. It got declined because I did not have, it required, I think, 11 years of experience or 12 years of experience, some crazier number than I had, plus or the college degree in computer science or something related. And I remember I got that news and I was deflated. I was telling my wife, man, I have no idea what I'm going to do now, because I don't plan on going back to college. You have to think, we're talking a 4 or 5 year difference now since I've been in college. I'm a father now, married, business owner, all different types of things, and college was just not in my plans. But I came across Western Governors University, which is another accelerated program. And Western Governors University allows you to go to whatever class you're trying to do or whatever program you're trying to do, and you can opt to take the assessment whenever you're ready to essentially test out of courses. As long as you can prove that you know the knowledge, you can keep moving on in your program, which is perfect for me. So I went and I got my degree in 2 months. My ADHD, people who say bad things about ADHD and hyperfocus, yes, there can be downsides, but the upside, I'll take having it any day because of the upside alone. I was able to sit for 2 months straight up to 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, working on essays, 60-page essays, taking tests. I had a 90-question test. And I actually had to know the information. That's the other thing I loved about it. It wasn't a degree where I just go and put anything down. It was a degree where I actually had to know the answers. So I remember I was knocking each class down. I told my wife, I said, I just submitted 2 essays because I had 2 classes. I'm getting ready to do this one. I'm getting ready to do that one. And to get the master's, I only had to take 10 courses because that was the master program. So I was originally slated to graduate in 2026. I started classes November of 2024. And then I got my degree the first week of January 2025. So I was able to do exactly what I needed to do with my ADHD. And that's my college story. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm still waiting on my promotion, but we'll see. It'll come at some point. We're working everything out right now. But I wanted to talk now a little bit more about those 3 things that I mentioned, because I just gave you a high-level overview of what that looks like, and then I gave you my example of, I can't smell, but I like to make it look like I can. I gave you a high level. Ooh, it's popping. Don't pop. Don't catch on fire. Don't catch on fire. I gave you a high level overview of what college looked like in my life and my story, my steps, how I did it. But let's go one by one through the list real quick, just so you get the information you need. I said major of interest with entrepreneurial opportunities. When I say measure of interest, again, you don't have to be passionate about this, but can you find enough challenge or enough interest in the challenge of the degree program or the career field where you think it could sustain you? For instance, software engineering. I never wanted to be a software engineer, but when I started doing projects for myself, just passion projects, I started to realize that I would get more interested in doing more things to the project with the more I learned. So the bigger my tool set got, the more I could do with my projects. And I started with some small games. Then I moved over to doing bubble.is, which was just visual scripting. Eventually I realized I wanted to use AWS because I wanted to add some more features to my game. So I'm literally touching all of these different things that are helping me with whatever it is that I'm trying to have my career in. So I recommend you do the same thing. And this is another thing that I put here. Side projects are huge. If you can find something you're interested in, for instance, The Office. I came across The Office in about 2017, 2018. And when I started learning how to use AWS in a deeper manner than I had used before, I used stuff from The Office to keep me motivated. So when I would do database calls, every item in the database, I named it after a character in The Office. Or I would put quotes if I wanted descriptions for data I was pulling or pushing up. I would make it quotes from The Office. When I'm a huge wrestling fan, anybody who knows me personally, they know I'm a huge wrestling fan. So with wrestling, I tried to work on personal projects that would get me back to making a wrestling game or making something for wrestling. So anything you can do that gets you to where you can use that interest, that passion, or whatever that desire is for the thing you actually like, and you can take whatever your major is to learn together and build that all at the same time, I think you'll have a much better relationship with whatever your degree program is, and you'll have much better success. Now, I said entrepreneurial opportunities because, as we all know, the world is crazy. We don't know what the future of the world will look like. But if you can find something that does not require you to get hired by a company, that you can make money on the side doing, then I think you really set yourself up for success, because then you don't have to even graduate from college first to start making money. If you're competent enough, you can start making money as you're in college, while you're in college, and possibly even fund your college tuition or college expenses with the money that you're making from that entrepreneurial activity that you're doing. Next thing that we have on the list, accelerated programs and community college. I will tell you this, I wish I knew about the benefit of going to community college before I went to the four-year university, because I would have taken advantage of dual enrollment, which allowed me to take college credits while I was in high school. And I would have had a lot of college credits ready to get transferred. But we weren't taught about, I hate that we weren't taught, you sound like a victim. I didn't do research into college enough when I was in high school. So I had no idea about the college credits, the transfer rate, and the fact that all of that could be transferred when I was in high school. That's on me. I should have done more research. But I will say this, if you can find a way to do community college where you can inch through your degree program and get it all done before the 4-year or however long you're going to be in college is over, then I think you also will set yourself up for success. But Shannon, why? Why does it help me to go through college faster? If you have ADHD like me, then you will probably not have interest in something that is very lengthy. I have a hard time sticking with something for a long amount of time, especially if I know it's going to take a long amount of time. When I know something's going to take a long amount of time, I procrastinate, put it off, not want to focus on it, not see the value because I'm not seeing immediate value, and that makes it difficult. Another thing, if you have OCPD, we have the all or nothing mentality, and we want to just get everything over with and hardly ever want to bring anything else in until this thing is closed out. So you're naturally living with this at this state of anxiety, of anxiousness, and it's low level, but you're always living with that low-level anxiety while you're in college because you're like, man, this is not done. I can't really move on in my life until this is done. So I recommend getting it done as fast as you can. College needs to be done fast, not long, not just to make relationships, because you can do that outside of college. You need to really be in college to be in and out with as much value as you can possibly get. Now, the second part of this was the accelerated programs. I didn't know about accelerated programs when I went to my 4-year colleges either. But these accelerated programs are made for people with ADHD. At least people like me with ADHD, where I'm kinesthetic, have to have my hands on stuff, and it has to be pertinent information. I do not like wasting my energy on stuff that does not really add value to what I'm trying to do. These accelerated programs allow you to not waste time because it's 1 month at a time. You focus on one thing. That's another thing with ADHD. Focus on one task. So you don't have to multitask all these different assignments. You focus on one task. You see that not one task. Focus on one class and you see that class through to completion. Then as soon as that's done, you get it out your head and move on to the next one. Or if it's compounding information, you stack on top of what you already learned. And it was perfect. So I got my bachelor's degree in 3 years. If I was on campus, it could have been 2 years. And then I got my master's degree in 2 months, which was supposed to be 2 years. But the fact that my hyper focus was so active because I knew the faster I get this degree, the faster I'm eligible for a promotion. That made me work even harder. That made me dedicate longer nights. That made me focus harder. And obviously my wife, she came through big time with my son, just focusing on my son and allowing me to do what I needed to do. So really make sure you take advantage of these accelerated courses, these accelerated programs. I think that's the way of the future for college. A lot of times, I'm not going off data, but you run the risk if you stick in college for too long of going to college for 4 years and then coming out with outdated information. So you really want to see how much information can you get in as little amount of time as possible that is valuable information. So I recommend Full Sail University, and I went to Western Governors University for my master's. I'm sure there are plenty of other colleges out there that have similar programs. Just check the accreditation. And also, I was able to get tuition reimbursement for both of my schools. So if you're in a job, see if your job has tuition reimbursement. That leads us to our last and final point. Aim for a 2-year college window and get your hands dirty outside of class. So, 2-year college window to me is a sweet spot. I truly believe that, because you probably waste a year. This is if you're not doing accelerated and everything, if you're just going traditional 4-year school. 2 years is not, I get my degree in 2 years when I say this. I'm saying if you're going to a traditional 4-year college, you want to try to get you a career or some form of job where you can start making money or get tuition reimbursement within the first 2 years. Why? First year, you might waste time, so we won't count that against you. Second year is when you are going to start hopefully learning about whatever major you're going for. You'll start getting some baseline information. A lot of companies do internships, and some even do apprenticeships when you're in college. They have specifically made dedicated programs for college students. And if you can get into one of these programs while you're in your second year, then you obviously option one is you want to get hired. And I would recommend leaving if they have tuition reimbursement. I would leave school, go pursue the career, because the experience is going to be more. It's going to be more than, man, I'm mixing my words up. The experience of going to school, the experience of going to work is going to be more valuable than the experience of going to school within that time frame. So I recommend going to the career or opportunity that you have, and if they give you an option to get hired, you take it. They have tuition reimbursement, especially. You do what you need to do a great job, ask questions, learn, try to get you a mentor that's in the same field. Look at different business areas. So try to schedule one-on-ones where you can see what other folks are doing and get as much knowledge as you possibly can. And then go back to school to refine what you're doing, but don't leave the job to do it. They have different programs for people who work and go to school. So WGU was a perfect one because that was a program made for people who work full time, but they also still want to go and get their college degree. So I would recommend WGU. I actually would recommend them. Also, the fact that my job did tuition reimbursement with them sealed my validity issue I had. I was wondering, I said, man, is this a college valid? Does it feel like a valid college? Does it feel like a valid degree? And it was the example college that was given for my job, for my company, my career. So I said, okay, well, if this is the example college, then I guess it's valid to you. And if it's valid to you, it's valid to me. So that is the first option. And then option two is if you get into the internship program or apprenticeship program, network and try to figure out before you leave how you can get in again so you can have a hopeful reserve spot for the next semester. Because that's another thing that happens is college is a career or a job might bring you back on after the first time. They might say, hey, you did a great job. We will let you go back to school, finish up your studies some, and then next year, when the program opens back up, we'll have you at the top of the list because you know the systems already. We can get you in, get you onboarded. And that is something that you really can take advantage of. So I really recommend 2-year college window is when you should really start looking for a job or a career. Don't go 2 years into college thinking, oh, I need to just keep working retail jobs if you have the skills and the ability to do more, because that won't give you the fruit that being in the field would. Like, you will really get experience. When I was 20 years old, by the time I hit 20, I had so much business knowledge. I knew about mortgage processes. I knew about training, how a whole training program is put together. I knew about what an org chart is. All of these different things that you don't really learn in college, especially not the first 2 years. So for 2 years, if you're going to a traditional 4-year college, that first 2 years, try to get you a gig. Try to get you a job. Try to start your business. Try to get experience. Experience is key. And you might have to start applying early, like a year, like really start applying as soon as you get to college. You can really start applying. So that's the second part of this, which is get your hands dirty outside of class. Everything I learned, the most useful stuff I've learned has been outside of my jobs and school. I teach myself at home everything. What you see right now, my streaming, my graphics on the OCPD coach channel, my video editing, my website, my games that you might see, I've done all of that myself, self-taught. And I've been doing this since I was younger. Since I was in the 8th grade, I've learned how to dib and dab into different softwares. So you really, really want to be doing projects at home, because then even if you don't have any experience to show as a second-year student and you're going to apply, if you can show stuff you've done at home, that's even more impressive, because they're going to say, wow, you took the initiative to learn something at home and bring it to make money or whatever it might be. You learned something at home. That's the short story of it. You took initiative outside of school, and that is going to gain more respect than you even understand. I've gained so many opportunities just because I've taught myself stuff at home. So that's me giving you experience based off myself. And let me just reiterate those 3 points one more time, because I think it's something that is really useful. Like I said, people with ADHD, OCPD, our brains are wired in a certain way. We need to get in fast, get as much value out of it, and it needs to be something that is done at a smart price. Don't blow yourself up. And we're going to do getting a major in something that you're interested in that has entrepreneurial opportunities. Even if it's something that you're not passionate in, can it be challenging enough to keep you engaged? Number 2, an accelerated program. So focus on accelerated programs as well as community college credits, because that can help you speed through college and get to work. And number 3, if you're going to a 4-year college program or higher, then you need to aim to get some form of job, internship, apprenticeship, something at 2 years. You need to get your feet wet, need to get in. So 2 years is when you really need to be focusing on the different opportunities that are available. And if there's nothing you can do, what can you build on your own so that you can have something to show as experience? All right. So that's how I got my master's degree with ADHD. Or like I said earlier, I use my ADHD to get my master's degree. OCPD Coach is out. I'll see y'all on the next one. Make sure you keep fighting for your life. If you are not subscribed, subscribe right now. Why not? It's free. You'll make me happy. I love seeing the numbers tick up. So you can sub right now. Make sure you turn the notification bell on because I go live 3 times a week, every single Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. Thursdays, I go live at 4 p.m. I talk about all of the work that I've done over the week. We assess what I need to do better. Saturdays from 8:30 p.m. to midnight, and this is all Eastern time, I work on my video game or develop something. It's a hyper-focused chill stream. And then every single Sunday at 1:15 p.m. Eastern time, I plan out my work for the week. So Sundays I plan the work, and then Thursdays I review the work. Make sure you guys just hop into one of the streams, stay notified, and keep fighting for your life.